Happy day guys, Pungavide Kalamegam from Inspiring Imprints. Today we are going to see the fifth problem on patterns. This is something that got figured out in Codevita. As I've already told about Codevita, first we'll have to comprehend the problem. So I'm going to read through the problem and then we'll see how to solve. So do you have your paper and pen in hand? Please do have it. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to understand. Okay. So a sequence is said to be progressive if it does not decrease at any point in time. For example, 1, 1, 2, 2 is a progressive sequence, but 1, 2, 1 is not a progressive sequence. Let S be sequence and let it be represented by L spaced integers ki. Now your task is to find out the first longest progressive sequence present in the sequence. See, I'm going to highlight this one first. Okay, this you will have to understand, because if a sequence has more than one sequence which is of the same length, maximum length, then you will have to pick up the first sequence that is having the maximum length. Okay. Now the input is as t as the length of sequence, and you will have to give t number of numbers with space as delimiter. The output is the longest progressive sequence. So these are the test cases. Given the length as 4 and this sequence, output is this, and with 5 as the number of numbers, and these are the numbers, this is the sequence. For 12, this is the output. So we have understood what is the input and what is the output. Let's have a close look on the test cases. Case 1 and 2 are pretty very simple. First case has the progress sequence in the beginning and the second has in the end, but it has just one. But in the third test case, we have two sequences, both of the same length, that's the maximum length. Now, which one should be the output? It should be the first sequence. So here we will have to see whether the numbers that are coming next are equal to or more than the number that is in the beginning. Okay, so that's the logic, and we'll have to put all those in one list. The simple logic is to create sublists, subsequences, till you encounter a number that is lesser than the previous number. So keep adding on in the subsequence. See, after 27 there is a decrease. So till here all the numbers were increasing. So this is one subsequence. Yes, 12 is a sequence. Okay, but it is not, it cannot be a sequence with 12 1 because 1 is decreasing. Similarly, after 11 1 has decremented. So this is the subsequence. So this is the progressive subsequence. Up the list, the sequence, and then I'm creating a list of list, which would be adding all the subsequences in a big list. Okay. Then what I'm doing is I'm starting from the first element in the input list. Okay. Just add it in the subsequence, first subsequence. Okay. And this temporary subsequence keeps on growing. Okay. If n is greater than the start. N is nothing but the number next in the list. Okay, so if n is greater than the start, I'll just add it to the temp. Else, what I'm going to do is, then there is a decrease. So this is the end of the progressive sequence. I just add it to the subsequence list. Okay, and then start creating another temporary list, which might be another longest progressive sequence. So I'll have to repeat these steps until I finish off all the numbers in the sequence. Then what I do is I pick up the subsequence, which is nothing but the list of subsequences. From that, I'll have to pick up the maximum length sequence and just print it. So that's the algorithm. Okay, converted whatever algorithm I have put in place into a program in the programming language Python. That's all. So what I'm going to do is quickly run you through the program. This is the code for the longest progressive sequence. So as usual, I highly recommend the Python tutor and always have a function and a main program. See, to make this entire program to be visible in one shot, I have avoided extra lines, but please do not do this mistake. Please always give more white spaces so that you can easily understand the code. So in the main program, I'm just getting the number for the length of the sequence, and then what I'm doing is I'm just getting the input as a string and splitting that using space and converting each of the splitted number, rather string, into integer. This subsequence, we are giving an input as a string. Now we'll have to convert it into numbers so that we can do comparison. Otherwise, we cannot do comparison with a list of strings. Okay, so then I invoke the function called find sequence, and in this find sequence we are starting with the very first element. And here I told you about list of lists, right? A sequence of lists. Okay, so I'm creating a list, and then what I'm doing is I'm creating a temporary list which will start from the first element. Okay, then there is a for loop which runs from the second element, right, till the end. I've already started with the 0th element, so we are moving ahead with the second element in the list till the end. Okay, that's why this we have chosen from 1. Okay, and now, as I said in the algorithm, we'll have to just check if the sequence is progressive. If it is progressive, what we are doing is we are just appending. Okay, if it is not progressive, if the next number that is encountered is lesser than whatever is in the beginning, what we are doing is we are stopping this as a subsequence, adding it to the sequence of sequences or list of lists, and then we are moving with a new list which is starting from the number which decreased, right? So the next is being added to the temporary list, and we keep moving on. So the start is moving on to the next progressive sequence. So like this we keep moving on, and we append that temporary list to the last temporary list to the subsequence. Okay, if we are not giving this else, okay, what would happen is you might not land up here in this if condition. Why? Because it's not necessary that there is a next which is less than the start so that you can append it, right? So you're coming to the end of it. So you have technically not yet moved further, right? So for the last one, you will have to come to this. So this for else is for this. After finishing off the for loop, come here and add the last list. So that's it. And here I have given you a lambda function wherein the maximum is got from the length. Okay, so I'm getting the maximum with the length as the criteria. So this is why I've used lambda function. So we'll the input. Okay, so I have given the input now. So it's quickly creating a list of numbers which are all integers, and then it's invoking the function find sequence. And in the find sequence, so firstly we create a list which is having the first number alone in the temporary sequence, and we are iterating till the end of the function. Now we see that 12 is getting appended as a separate list. Why? Because the next element is 1, right? 1, and it is lesser than 12, right? Lesser than 12. So it is getting appended as a new separate list. Now we start afresh with 1 as the first element. So if you see, it's the list is keeping on growing. Can you see this, guys? Okay, it's keeping on growing. It grows till the 27. Yeah, after 27 you see a dip, right? 4. So the next is 4 and the start is 27. So it is lesser. So what we are doing is we are appending that list to the sequence of subsequences. Okay, so if you see the subsequence, it's 1, sequence 1 and sequence 2. So we go like this and we'll show the last one. Okay, so if you see here the subsequences, so you have a 12, then you have 1, 3, 4, 23 and 27, and then you have the sequence, and then you have 1. So you have 4 subsequences which are progressive, right? But it is this sequence that is the longest and the first. Run the same code with the another sequence which is like, I'm going to remove just 27 and give it as 21. Okay, now we'll see how many subsequences are getting displayed. Okay, so here the subsequences are, can you get it? So this is the longest, so the longest has been displayed in the output. So hope you understood. Okay, so this sequence of subsequences is what is playing the magic around. Bye, see you.